Oh, 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 I can't contain the excitement. All jokes aside, as you guys know, I bought another tilted V2 back in November. Now, when I got this car, I told you guys I didn't like the GLI front end, which now I kind of like a lot, just because it looks more aggressive. We installed the BCs, we slammed this car, we built side splitter extensions, we held the side splitters on with magnets. We've done a few videos with this, but now it's time to crank it up, get the camper all set and going. Got this side going on Instagram Reels. I did like a little like how-to video, and you know, that was cool and all, but I want to make this whole entire passenger side with you guys. And like I told you in the beginning, I want you guys to be a part of it. And I want this to be a collaborative effort. I wanted to entertain you guys. So I started taking this car to the car meets, and it's just really began to be excited. But when I show up, nobody's taking pictures of it. You know, it's just the Mark 6 TDI. There's nothing too crazy about it. But you roll up with something like this, and you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. But you roll up with something like this, but with camber in the back, and I'm telling you, not a lot of people are running RSs. I'm excited. But anyway, this car actually starts. I put the battery from that car into that car, and the battery from that car into this car, and I put a race car battery in that car. But if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you would know. If you want to check those videos out, they're in the description, and here's my TikTok and Instagram. Like I said, I got a battery in this car. I start it once every like 2 weeks. Well, the battery died. Oh yeah, baby, crispy. I really just needed room to get the jack underneath there because we're going to be modifying like the top hat and the suspension, and we don't really need much space over here, so I just wanted to get it a little bit over. But I mean, I'm not even as low as I'm going to be going in the front, and you guys can see how low those side skirts are. And then we're going to be putting on the front lip that I have in the basement. I have a Votex rep that I got from eBay like 3 years ago for the last V1 car. I needed extras, but this thing is going to be skating. So guys, get excited. Let's start tearing into this car, and let's get back into YouTube. Yeah. Whoa, My goal for today's video is to have the front camber done and to have fun. We're not going to touch the rear. We're just going to touch the top hat. We're going to extend the lower control arm, and we're going to angle the sleeve for the suspension. If you plan on working on any of your Volkswagen suspension in the next, ever, grab one of these. They're linked below. The shred spreader tools are amazing. Oh, yeah. Now that I got those top hat bolts removed, the magic can begin. So when we remove this, you can obviously see we got this oval shape, and it stops right around there at that little ring. Well, with top hat camber, we want to move this in this direction. So I'm going to be taking this mounting position and moving it to right about here. And the way I'm going to do that is I've got this hole saw bit, which actually fits right down in there beautifully, which that allows me to mount these top hats farther in at home instead of having to go to a machine shop to bevel this out. So I'm gonna go ahead, find the center, mark out the center, get this guy going right about there, leave a little bit on the edge for strength, and we'll be able to move our top hat inward. Got the measuring tape for dummies, flip the top hat over center, found out that it's 1.5 inches wide, which then leaves me with 3/4 of an inch being the center. We're gonna find that hole, which is gonna be right around there, and mark that out, punch it, and then we're gonna cut. I was super intimidated about marking this out, but I got that dead center. I feel confident with it. So now I'm gonna drill my pilot hole, and I'm gonna send this guy right down. All right, well, it happened. I forgot that the last time I cut out a top hat, that the bit was wobbling, and luckily I had the hole a little bit closer, but our pilot hole was drilled a little too far forward, which made it, which caused us to get really close to the edge, but that hole saw, it's bent. So it caused us to go completely through the side, and now this isn't structural and I wouldn't drive on it. You can see the comparison on this top hat on the driver's side, where I have maybe let's say 1/4 inch of metal that's keeping the top hat from going this way, but now I have absolutely nothing on here. So this isn't a structural top hat. Even though this fits in here absolutely beautifully, I just don't trust that there's nothing backing it. So in order to make a new top hat, I'm gonna have to go ahead and get a new hole saw. I'm gonna have to go ahead and order a new corner replacement top hat from BC. And if BC actually doesn't have those top hats, I don't really know if they do, but they do have corner replacements. I'm gonna use a Slam Series top hat. It's the exact same thing, just red. And, it'll work. All right, well, since this top hat is trash, for mock-up purposes only, I only mounted 2 bolts, but usually I would slot this whole top hat out. But for now, we're gonna go mount this in the car and see how it does. Like I said, we're not gonna drive this thing on the road looking like this, but since we destroyed this top hat, we're gonna make it work for today's video. Since the passenger side literally looks just like the driver's side, we're just gonna mirror this. So we're gonna move these bolts in 1/2 inch. We're gonna drill a pothole down through here, make it a little bit cleaner than this side, and we're gonna basically just move this in a little bit, and it's gonna be structural. I got all these pilot holes drilled, so now we're ready to go. Both pilot holes are drilled. Time for the step fit. And just like that, we got 3 additional holes. That looks absolutely beautiful. It looks OEM, I would say. And the top hat's ready to bolt up, but now we gotta tilt the sleeve. Now, what I mean by tilting the sleeve is quite literally tilting the sleeve. This is a threaded shock body with a threaded sleeve that threads directly onto it. So you disconnect this, and we're gonna wind up chopping it. So we start off with this guy. I have extras because BC sells corner replacements. And we chop it at the base, we put 6 degrees of angle on it, and we weld these two back together. That's hot. So now that we got the base piece cut to 0 degrees, it's nice and flat. I just beveled all the edges, got it all cleaned up, no more paint. That leaves us with this section. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the rest of this big fat area, which was part of this machine piece. We're gonna cut a 6-degree slot right into it right now, and then we're gonna match these together with some weld. Look at that. Got the sleeve all cleaned up, got her a little bit beveled on the edges. Paint free. She's ready to weld and mount to the bottom piece. And wow, look at the Mark 6. I'm stoked on this build as well. I know I don't show it that much, but it's a solid unit. I love her. So now we have this, and they make the tilt. All right, so now we have the OEM guide pin, which goes in the back. It's gonna be a simulation. This guy's gonna go towards the same exact side. Mount those two together. Weld them up. I love how I have this little pedestal here, right? So a lot of people, they'll just cut the pedestal off and they'll weld it to this. But look, I could put it here, or I could put it here. See? So I get more room to tilt it in away from the back because I don't have a big back pad on my barrel. One last look before we weld it. I'm gonna get up there, tack it. She's looking beefy, brother, beefy. Let's get it.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I...
And for this last bead, you guys are gonna come along with me. Let's go. I'm using 153 amps right now. My tungsten's a little balled up, but that's okay. I'm actually doing a circular motion with the tungsten, and not doing too much filler, doing a decent amount. And it's just burning amazing. And I'm using an Amazon Amoco TIG welder, and it gets the job done. Now we're gonna let that purge. And just like that, we laid a bead. Choo-choo! Let's go! V2, baby. All right, let's get some paint on this guy. And the sun on the ground. And paint it. I'm painting this with Rust-Oleum Rust Reformer, so if there's any rust underneath, or if any rust ever tries to, you know, show itself, this stuff will just eat it right up and convert it, which is really nice. And just like that, we got it all painted up. I paint it while it's still hot because 1, the paint dries amazingly fast, and 2, I got like 2-3 layers on there and it's completely dry. All I got to do now is just chop off this little ear and this piece will be done. Since the camber is gonna be so heavy, this is actually gonna hit the frame. So we're just gonna lop that off, but this sleeve is done. Now that the sleeves are done, we're gonna be extending the front lower control arms. Now, I made these extenders like 3 years ago, back in 2019 when I did the other setup, but I went ahead and did Heim joint tube arms. But now I like this idea and a bunch of people are doing it. So all these holes are perfect. I've got an old ball joint. This lines up great, but I just wanna make this nicer, clean it up a little bit, and make the holes a little bit farther apart. So maybe from there to like there, just make it a little bit longer for more camber. But for today's content, this is gonna work perfect. But like I said, I just wanna clean these up eventually. But for now, we're just gonna bolt these into the car. They're gonna work great. They're just not tilted spec. You know, these are sketchy spec, but we're gonna mount these into the car for now. What the? Well, if you couldn't tell, that was just the time of my life. But man, just look at it. Just look at it. So now that we got our coilover almost bolted up, we got these 3 bolts perfect in center. We got to drill that hole right here. I got a pilot hole drilled, and I'm going to be drilling it out with the step bit now. And just like that, we're through. Now that we're through and we got all our holes drilled, we're ready to mount up the coilover. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna hold up this hub assembly. So then I could drop the lower control arm, mount up the extension, and we'll be skating. Beautiful. This side looks way better than this side. Don't rush your jobs, right guys? Because you can get those results instead of those. And after I wash this whole engine bay, vacuum it all out, touch up paint, this is gonna look so good. I'm so excited about this. I actually put some time and effort into this today, and it shows. All right, well, here we are an hour later with an update. 2 of the studs, well, they left the chat. So I cut that one out. I cut this one in half. Now it's coming out, but I have more studs. Now the lower control arm is free and ready to be bolted up, baby. Got the extension all bolted up. We got all the bolts in there, all new hardware. I got new ball joints on the way, so that's all gonna be coming apart at the exact same time that I put the new extensions in. But now it's time for us to bolt this wheel up to the car. Got the wheel halfway on and then realized I forgot to put the tie rod extensions in. That'd be nice to have. This is how many threads you have in the OEM alignment, and then this guy just really beefs it up, but I'm only going to be using a little bit of it. I might even have to cut these threads, but for now I'm going to try to thread this all the way in here, thread all the way into here, and then see how my alignment is. But most of the time you actually have to cut off threads from your actual tie rods, but I might have extended it enough. I got the Euro Tuning tie rod extension threaded onto the tie rod itself, and now I'm threading it into the body. And I'm going to save you guys, but as you can see, it's a real fun process. Lots of spinning, but I got it in there. What's really nice is that it actually obtains more threads than OEM actually uses into this end right here. So this is a really solid part, and it just looks so good. So I'm glad we got that on there. Now we can finally get the wheel on. Well, it's all bolted up. She's ready to go. There's only one way to let the car down. Most of you guys know what that is, so let's just get it over with. I'm gonna enjoy this part. It's not high enough. You gotta test it before you drive it. Well guys, just like that, V2 is all bolted up. Both sides are sitting at negative 16.5 degrees of camber, and I cannot be any more stoked. I'm gonna be building more parts for this thing, AKA the rear is gonna be all custom as well. Heim joints, I already got all the arms ready to go, so be stoked for that YouTube video. V2, baby, I'm stoked. I hope you guys are stoked. And I'm gonna keep the content organic, natural, and I'm gonna try to bring you guys some more. So if you guys are stoked, you know, I'll see you in the next one, right? Hopefully. Remember, your build is unique to you. Don't even put you down. And go to a car meet, have some fun. Peace. I'm so happy.